Hello, our amazing, beautiful bar stars. Welcome back to Hitting the Bars. I'm your host, Keltie, and I'm with the beautiful, stunning, amazing Sav. How you doing?
Hi, hello. Good. How are you doing? It's a beautiful day out. It's always sunny and 85, man.
I was like, how nice is that? I was like, beautiful day. I was like, it is dark, stormy, rain.
You know, I miss that though. Like, I am a Seattle girl at heart, so like that is the comfort for me, you know. So I do love sun, and I'll take sun any day. But a good stormy, gloomy day is so nice because you can be productive inside, or you can like hang out and watch Netflix, and you don't feel guilty. Like it's not like you have to be outside.
Seasons. I do love a season. I love winter, fall, summer. Summer, you only appreciate because it's been so cold. Like I do love that, but it's getting excessive. This is like the coldest May. I was like, okay, now this is like depression. Yeah. This is no longer like, okay, yay. I'm like, where's my sun? I am so pale.
Yeah.
I need vitamin D.
But it makes summers like so special. Like living somewhere truly there, like the weather does not change here. Like it is always 85. If anything, the humidity changes, and that's when you know it gets hotter because it feels like 100, but it's still 85 somehow. So, like, I do think there's some beauty in seasons because you have, like, these great memories associated with, like, warm summer nights, like, windows down. Like, even now, I love when it's the evening because I have these, like, memories flooding back of me growing up and, like, blasting Taylor Swift.
Oh, that is
like,
so
with
nice.
My windows rolled down with, like, the luscious greenery. So I feel like seasons, you know, it can get annoying when you're stuck in the cold seasons, but I just think it makes summer so special.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I'm just ready for that switch, for it to be special. That's all. I was like, I'm so excited. I'm going to appreciate it so much. But just hurry up and come. Just hurry up.
Yeah. You're like, savage.
It's easy to say when you're in a tropical destination. I'm still suffering over here.
It is.
But it will be beautiful. I'll be in Spain soon. And then I'll be like.
You are in your tropical destination.
It's true. Vancouver is where the beaches are. It's insane. My Canadians will understand this. Like, there gets to be a point in about March where we stop caring about dressing for the season because we're just like stubborn. We're like, we don't care. It is freezing. I'm gonna get frostbite. I'm wearing shorts and t-shirts. Like you'd see, and like there's usually it starts out with the old men and they go into flip flops and shorts, and it's still snow. But it's like there gets to be a point where you're like, stand up to nature. We're like, we don't care. We're gonna tell ourselves it's nice, and it will be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, like not acknowledge the snow.
Exactly.
Just go about your day.
I committed to only wearing shorts about 3 weeks ago. I made a pact with my boyfriend, and I've regretted it many of days.
Wow. So do you stick true to it?
Yeah, but then I wear parka on top.
Oh,
so I'm in it's the most Canadian thing. I'm in a full parka and toque. And then, toque is I think you guys call it a beanie. A beanie?
Yeah, beanie.
Yeah, we call it toques. And then a full parka. High socks and shorts.
Is it like you can't break it because then he'll know that you're not staying true to
it's nothing to do with him. He could never know. It's just my own ego. I'm like, I said I'm only wearing shorts, so I'm only wearing shorts. He's probably like, no, go put on them. Like he's a sweetheart, but I'm like a stubborn person that like, no, I said I'm wearing shorts, I'm wearing shorts. I will dig my own grave.
Yeah. I am that person that will wear a full-blown sweatsuit in 85-degree weather. Like I do not like being cold, period. Hence why Michael and I keep moving to hot destinations. Right. And I mean, my parents moved from Seattle to Arizona for a reason. We were tired of the cold, right? And so even in 85, I get chilly sometimes, and like it drives everyone nuts because I will have this full-blown, like, you know, the Gymshark reset.
Yeah.
What is it? Rest day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like jogger suit. I have every color, and I wear them no matter like how warm it is. I am the one that doesn't want to wear shorts. I'm like, I like being cozy and warm.
See, here's where my moral dilemma. I hate being cold, but I want to wear just like light dresses and skirts and tank tops. And so I'm always in a moral. I should live in Spain. I should not live in one of the coldest countries on earth. So what did I do? I fell in love with a Swede. So I'm also in another place that's always cold and dark. And I was like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, do they have summers? I've never been to
Sweden. Their summers are actually, you know, everyone talks about like having their beautiful French Riviera summers and their, you know, Spain, Italy, all that. Don't get me wrong, all beautiful places, but no one's talking about a Scandinavian summer. oh my God, I got to experience it for the first time last summer because it's so north. So like the sun next to never goes down. So like it like stays out light and bright till like almost 1 a.m. and it rises at like 5. So like they're just like, it's like alive and it's like beautiful countrysides and everything looks like a postcard from like the 80s. Like people on the beach and it's all beautiful and they have these amazing beaches and they're clean and I don't know. I was just like, why does no one talk about this? Like I was blown away. It was so beautiful.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I want to go. I remember I had a elementary project where I had to learn all about Sweden, and it was so much fun. It's because I have a Swedish great-grandfather, Grandpa Johan, that came to America. And so it was like you had to do something like to do, you know, Americans were a melting pot. Mm-hmm. Like, where did you come from? We don't really know, but we know we're part Swedish.
Very interesting. So. Very interesting. You got a bit. Mm-hmm. Come. Mm-hmm.
I can identify their flag. That's really what I remember.
There you go. What colors? 2 colors is it?
Yellow and blue.
There you go.
Yeah, come on. 3rd grade.
Actually, if anyone didn't get that and you haven't put 2 and 2 together, why IKEA is yellow and blue, mind blown. It's the Swedish flag. In case there's the one person in there who was like, what? Should I be those random facts?
I didn't realize that. Wait, yeah, that is, right. And they got the Swedish meatballs. Mm-hmm. Love a good IKEA trip. Even though I'm not really a fan of their things. Like, I don't really like the furniture itself. I feel like I always have to put it together and it always breaks. But I do love going there. So it's like, I still buy it because I just want the IKEA experience.
You know what was a mind-blowing fact? And this, like, is probably many of you have had this if you didn't grow up, like, with money. Is I grew up and I remember getting, like, the IKEA catalog. And I thought IKEA was the bougiest thing on the face of the planet because we never got to really shop at IKEA. And like when I eventually got to decorate my own place, my mom's like, "Hey, we're gonna go to IKEA and you got to pick out like 2 things." And I was like, "We have enough money for IKEA?" And I was like, and I used to be like, tell people, I was like, one day I'm gonna have a house. It's gonna be completely decorated by IKEA because I thought it was like the cream of the crop, like the Chanel of. Because I used to think Michael Kors is Chanel, like you know what I mean, the cream. And then I turned like 25, and people are like, "Have you heard of this place, Restoration Hardware?" And I was like, "Oh." Wait, what? People spend how much on furniture? And in my mind, I had no. And now that's becoming an adult when you realize how expensive some of your childhood friends' like homes were, and then you're like, wait, they had that kind of couch? I was like, ugh.
Oh yeah, Restoration Hardware cloud couch. I've only known one person ever to have it, and I was like, wow, they're rich. Like, it was that like beautiful white cloud couch that everybody has, and. By everybody, I mean...
Rich people on YouTube?
Actually, not everybody. Yes, rich people on YouTube. Yes. And it's, like, so beautiful. And, yeah, I was like, wow, I love your couch. And I'd never really heard of Restoration Hardware. And he tells me he got it. And Michael's like, oh, yeah, this couch is... Man, it's a trendy one. And we go into, like, the store one day at the mall. And we both, like, vomit at how expensive this couch was. And ever since then, I actually created a... like a dupe with oh my gosh, what was the company called? Living Spaces. So this was the first big purchase I ever did for my home.
Oh, you were talking about that.
I would only do like really cheap furniture. And so it was the couch, and it was the couch of my dreams, and it was like $2,000 opposed to I don't actually know how much the cloud couch is, but for me that was like, wow, that is ballin' on a couch. I love that.
There is a dupe place for my Vancouver people. I think it's called Couch House, like spelled like HAAUS. My girlfriend got a custom one done from there, and it was like a good dupe. So there, for my Western Canadian people, look into that if you want a nice dupe for the cloud couch. Yeah. Unless you got like $30K to spend on a couch, then by all means go for it. But
yeah. I've been watching the newest Kardashians, like the Keeping Up with Kardashians. Oh, yeah. And their homes, I like just watched the episode where Chloe moves into her home.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it's just like so comical because she's like, this is the first thing Chloe has ever done on her own. She like didn't ask for any help. She paid for it herself. Like, go Chloe. But I'm just laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a multi-million-dollar project. And like, it is immaculate. Like, it is, there's probably something nicer than Restoration Hardware that we just don't even know about, because everything looks like that cloud couch. Everything. Like,
you know what's a scary thought? You know how we were saying there was a time when I thought IKEA was the top. And now I've got, a bit older, a bit more
Yeah.
money. Now I think of like Restoration Hardware, and there's someone out there listening being like, oh, Keltie hasn't even heard of insert brand that like Jeff Bezos buys. Do you know what I mean? That world. I was like, I don't.
I feel like Crate and Barrel's nice. I feel like everyone always makes their wedding registry there.
I will say if you want a really good cloud couch dupe, like it's still like a high-end couch you spend money for, but it's not as much. I got CB2 is like the higher end Crate and Barrel. I got the absolute best cloud couch. Like it's expensive. Like that was the only piece of furniture I spent that on my mattress. And it is like, I think it's better than the cloud couch, but I'm just saying that to make myself feel better when I sleep at night. But it's like a quarter of the price.
Wait, yeah, okay, send me the link because we need a new couch, a white couch for our new home. And I have to make sure they ship to an island. Yep. And that's always the problem. Yeah.
No promises there.
Yeah. So wait, is CB2 Crate and Barrel too?
It's like the same. I don't know how it works, but like they're the same company, but CB2 is like the higher end version of Crate and Barrel, I believe.
I thought Crate and Barrel was like really nice. Wow.
I
need to do some looking.
Okay, that's like saying, what would I compare it to? Like Prada versus Prada Sport. Do you know what I mean? Like it's still Prada, it's still high end, but like it's just like CB2 is like just I think a bit more like it looks like a Restoration Hardware, but not as much.
Okay, yeah.
It's a nice in between.
Okay, good to know. So everybody, if you're looking for a couch, we have given some options: living spaces. Yeah. Design it yourself, or CB2.
Yeah, or house. If you actually want it, DM me. I don't really remember. Spoke House? No, that's
Couch House.
Something like that. I don't remember.
Couch Halls.
Anyways.
Okay, let's jump into today's topic.
We were talking about seasons, which actually appropriately siphons into the direction of today's channel. Or channel. Clearly I'm a YouTuber. Podcast episode.
Are you on YouTube right now?
And we've noticed a trend. If you guys listen to the episode with Nona, we were talking like trends she's seen on TikTok. And she mentioned a lot of people are trying Pilates. And then, of course, because our phones listen to us, I opened my TikTok today. And the first thing that pops up is why girls are turning to Pilates from weightlifting. And we thought we'd talk about it because that's something that cycle of like weight training, overtraining, to Pilates, that was me 4 years ago. If you guys follow me on YouTube, I've done that. So I thought we could kind of reflect on kind of the stage of like, is it the end of weight training? Is Pilates the better? And just kind of talk about that conversation. Have you ever tried Pilates?
Yes, I tried Pilates like, oh my gosh, a couple years ago, or maybe it was a year ago, with one of my friends, and she like hated going to the gym. She would make fun of how much I love to go to the gym, like in a loving way. So she was like, I do Pilates a couple times a week. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm like, what the heck is Pilates? Because she does not like HIIT or anything like that. So I was like, let me try it with you. So I go, and it's more like soothing. It's more like, how to word it? Lengthening, yes, yeah. And pinpointing muscles and
isolation.
It's all really like core strength. Yes, isolation. And she whipped my ass in this like class. And I felt so out of shape, and I did love it, but I was like baffled at how sore and like incapable I was of doing these like simple twists and turns that all the women were like nailing on point. So that was my experience, was holy cow, I may be able to like lift heavy weight, I may be able to like run or sprint, do burpees, but like this was like my kryptonite. Like it was such a struggle for me.
So I guess I'll kind of explain, if you haven't heard what Pilates is and why you'll also be so sore your first time, is Pilates, there's two kinds. There's regular old school Pilates, which you're going to just do on a mat. And then there's Pilates Reformer, which looks like this bed with all these crazy cable rows. And kind of the whole idea and the premise of Pilates, not perfectly, but just basic layman terms, is like lengthening and strengthening a muscle. So I think everyone wants to be like a dancer's body. It was very in 20, 30 years ago. Like Pilates is not new. It's just always been super popular in LA because the whole idea like models can't gain muscle, but they still want to be toned, which is a whole nother topic in itself. But that's why they tend to do Pilates, because you're still doing some kind of strengthening, but because you're not lifting heavy weights, you really don't have the ability to gain too much muscle because there's not enough progressive overload, and you're constantly stretching, which is actually probably one of my favorite things about Pilates, that you get actually train the full range of motion. A lot of people who weight train, the problem is they don't have the mobility to train the full range of motion of a muscle, so they limit. That's a nice thing about Pilates. Now, that's a whole topic, like, can you actually just like lengthen a muscle? That's a whole science in it, but that's kind of the premise. And it's a lot of pulsing, it's a lot of core. But what I do like about it, and why a lot of people actually get sore, is it does engage like smaller muscles, because even your glutes are not just like one big chunk of muscle. They're made up of like micro little muscles, and because it's such small movements and you're not like focusing too much on like when you got a barbell on your back, you're concentrating on just like protecting your spine, you can really engage those like little muscles. So I think a lot of muscles do get engaged that don't normally when you do Pilates. And also, soreness doesn't really equal muscle growth. It's just like movement in a different way. And weight training, you're using lower reps, high weight. And Pilates is just the opposite. So your body's just like not used to it. And so that's why you tend to get like an insane soreness. It's not necessarily meaning it's a better or worse workout. It's just like something different for your body. And so yeah, Pilates, I would describe it as, and why, actually, let me backtrack a bit. Also, why the first time you go to it, expect to look stupid compared to people, unless you were a dancer. Typically dancers are really good at it. It's a lot of like the movements you were taught when you're younger. It's a lot of like, I don't know, fancy terms, but like point your toes and pulse and a lot of those kind of movements, not as much as like a bar. But that's what Pilates is going to do. Versus like the first time I did Pilates, I was like, I played basketball and did weightlifting. Like, you want someone who has no grace. It was just like thump, 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 aggressive, blow. It was just like not cute. But that's also kind of why we need it.
Yeah. How often did you do Pilates when you got into it?
So I guess, and this is actually just interesting why I even wanted to make this, is like this was something that I went through. So I was the classic athlete, was in sports. That was fitness to me. That ended. I tried to find other fitness. I got into weight training, and you do find so much results from weight training. And we'll get back to that later on in the episode. But I did that for many times, got burnt out. I didn't just want to do aesthetics. And sometimes when you do something so much, you get a bad taste in your mouth. You want the complete opposite. And so like I was so sick of just like training to be like big and strong and grow my glutes, and I felt very broken. And so I was like, I just want something like more feminine and flowy, and you know what I mean, seems relaxed. And I just felt my body craving that. And so I tried Pilates, and I started off with like a 30-day challenge for YouTube. It's still on there. I think I did it about 4 years ago. And then from there, I just was like, have gone through seasons. Like every once in a while I'll buy like a 10 pass for Legree, which is probably the biggest, most popular. That's where a lot of like celebrities in New York started going, and all the major cities have it. But I started going, and so I'll do it a couple times a month, and then I'll use my 10 passes, won't go for a bit. And now it's just like listening to my body. It's like, ooh, my body does need a bit of that. Like, I still want muscle engagement versus like yoga is a lot more of like a flow. You still engage muscles with yoga, but like I want just that. And I was like, I want to feel kind of girly and get a good workout in and not too sweaty and just like connect with my body, and no cortisol, as he said. But sometimes, you know what I mean? You're like, life's too stressful. I want movement without cortisol, which is usually the opposite. I like high intensity music blasting in my face, but sometimes you overdo it. Yeah. And then I'm like, I need a couple weeks of Pilates. And I feel like a lot of people on TikTok are going through that very stage right now.
Yeah. Would you say though, you used to do Pilates and now you say you'll like go every now and then? Is it like riding a bike where you can pick it up, or is it like something like yoga? You kind of fall out of those movements and like how much you can stretch or be mobile. So like, how do you feel every time you have to pick it back up?
I feel this is like complete.
That's the thing. I've only done it once, so that's why I'm like curious. Like, is it easy to just pick it back up and you know the movements, or do you start over again?
It's so contextual in the sense that like the more you did it the first time, the easier it is to get back up. The younger you did it, the easier it will be. I guess a good example I can use is like comparing just my own flexibility. Like I had no flexibility. And so when I did my stretching like journey for like 2 years, if I took a week off, I felt it. Versus I have friends who were gymnasts and they stretch, they haven't done the splits in 6 years. They warm up a bit and they can still do it just because they started at a younger age. So I don't have that. I don't have that ability. So when I lose it and I go back, it's pretty rough for the first bit, but you always remember the moves. unless you like, you probably won't, I won't lie, you just did it for a day, but like I did it enough that I'm like, I can remember the first couple days are rough, but then it is cool, your body does have muscle memory. And just like weight training, it's the exact same thing. If you like weight trained, took some time off, you're not gonna be able to lift as heavy, but you kind of remember your form, and then do a couple reps, like, oh, this is what I do, and you gain it back faster than the first time you did it. But you still have to go through that like rough stage a little bit at the start. But you'd be shocked how fast, like even right now, I'm just coming back to like the gym after a month off from surgery, and like every day I go, it's like you do see progress pretty fast. But like the first day I was way behind, so that's kind of normal.
This is a little off topic, but have you ever tried hot yoga? That is my favorite, like stress-free movement. You're just focusing truly on like form, your core, like, that is what I imagine my Pilates is. Like, sign me up anytime. I can't wait in New York to go to hot yoga, because I like sweating too. It's just like, there's nothing more calming, and like that feminine energy, like you just said, that like, you don't necessarily feel like you bring out when you're like throwing around weights and like, listening to Eminem.
Fully. And actually a cool thing, and not to get into like, we're not talking gender, we're just talking to like classic yoga term of like feminine and masculine movements. But I do think it's really cool how yoga talks about that. And I thought that was a cool thing, just even myself who came from like a not like feminine type movements, like not grace, it was always power, and like realizing the strength in beauty, but then also like the strength in flow and movement and like surrendering. And I really like that yoga. It almost has like that mental aspect of it. And it opened my eyes. And I think that's kind of that whole realm. Pilates people are finding, because Pilates is hot. I won't lie. It's like what models do down in LA, and it's expensive, and it's always like really chic, and like you get your matcha after. So that's why I also think it's in. It's kind of like where the cool people in LA go, and in New York, so that's why it's in. But
it's very privileged as well.
Because if the only reason I also don't go is it's so expensive. Like Pilates Reformer can get you like $50 a class. It's in.
Oh yeah, I was looking at doing Pilates here, because we do have a studio. Dude, it was like $60 a class here. It was something absurd that I was like, probably not going to do that.
Fully. And like that's why I was like, why I kind of do how I approach like fitness classes is like, that's my treat. I could go buy new clothes or anything. I was like, my Saturday I'm gonna treat myself to a fitness class, and it's like $50. I'm very privileged to be able to do that, but it's like also like that's how I kind of think of it. I was like, it's a nice treat. Like I don't have to be going to do it every single day. But yeah, it's a very privileged. It's very posh. It's very like brands like Aloe Yoga are in, that all the celebrities are wearing, which caters towards it. And I want to talk a bit more about like just Pilates bar and yoga. So remind me to look back to that. But also speaking of that, I also think another reason Pilates is in is controversial take, but like I'm not saying the BBL era is ended, but the thing about the weight training era of like YouTube and Instagram, it was when it was like big butts. The bigger the butt, the bigger the thighs, the hotter you were. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying big butts and big thighs aren't hot, but there tends to be like things go in cycle. And it's just like people have even said there's rumors that Kim K has been like taking out her like butt injection. I'm not going to comment on that. I was like, but it just doesn't seem. But isn't that BBL? Is it like the?
I think a BBL is. I know this because Miami. A lot of people had BBLs. That was like the headquarters for that thing.
Oh yeah.
I think a BBL is a fat transfer.
Yeah. Okay. That's true.
Right, and then there's butt implants. I think that you can also do.
Isn't there something like that's like a filler that you inject? Also, there's another one.
Probably.
Yeah, I could be. I could.
Probably. I have no idea.
We should bring on like my best. We both have friends that are like injector, like nurses and that. So we should get them to come on because I believe. Someone comment. I'm so sorry, Kardashians. I love you. If I'm just making this up, but like, there's implants, there's BBL, but isn't there's like another one that they're rumored to have because like it doesn't show up and it's kind of like the Botox or the filler up. But I could be completely wrong. But I think there's something like that. Anyways, they've been rumored that they're dissolving it, regardless if they are or not. I think like we can agree it's not as like what it was 5 years ago when everyone was like just had the biggest butt as possible. I feel that trend is kind of coming to an end a little, and because of that it tends to go in the opposite. So I don't want this, I'm just saying this is what I see on TikTok. It's like people tend to like move in the opposite way. So what's the opposite to weight training? It's like Pilates and lengthening and like dancer bodies and that kind of thing. And I not that I approve of it as someone who even like, I guess I fall into that category, being built like a 2x4 stick. But like it's just like a weird.
See, I'm the opposite though. I'm very curvy. So I like naturally have really thick thighs and like a plump butt, like because I always have. That's like
beautiful. I love it.
My grandma had that, right? So I think really also maybe you're trying to get across as well is like there's not that pressure as much anymore to have a big butt. So I think it's natural bodies are getting celebrated more and more online of being like, hey, this is actually what like I naturally sit at, or like, you know, like even for me, my fitness journey, I have gained a lot of muscle and like put on more weight than when I first started. And that's because like this is a healthier version of me and like naturally who I am and like how I train. So I feel like there's not as much tension or like I can't think of the word right now, but pressure. There we go. There's not as much. Wow, I need coffee. There's not as much pressure for me to like have to maintain this like really lean physique when that was not my natural body. So I was like constantly in a battle, you know? So like I just, what I'm trying to get across here is I just think it's becoming more celebrated, like to embrace what you naturally have. And then, you can enhance it in a sense of like weight lift still, maintain it. Like I totally understand that. But I just think there's no more like, you can't be skinny. Like you can be skinny. Like, you know, if you're naturally built that way, or if that's what you want, or if you want to be thicker, you can. Like, that's what I love about online is like you can be celebrated in any form of your body, and there's not just this cookie cutter model, Victoria's Secret model, lean, or like you said, like Kim K, where you have to have these like huge ass, like disproportionate to like your like waist or something like that, you know?
And fully. And it's so funny. I talked about this a little while ago on YouTube. It's like I think we're in this beautiful era, and this is why I'm even tiptoeing around the subject. So like I hope this is the era, and it's not like a full cycle back. Like it went from, like we said, it went like heroin chic to Victoria's Secret model to like the Kim K curve, and right now it tends to be like you don't have to have the biggest butt. Like some girls are gonna be tall and lean, some girls are gonna be super curvy, some are shorter, some are tall, and it's just like enhance, work towards like the best version of you. Have a role model that looks like you. Do you know what I mean? Like go in that direction versus like trying to do something that's not healthy. Like even for myself, like I kind of had like I'm exhausted from this. Like so much of YouTube and fitness, and that was like growing a bigger butt. And I've done so many videos about it, and like I do train, and like I've spent a lot of time the science side from it and weight training, and there eventually I just had this point. I was like, in the next 10 years I may grow another inch on my butt. Doesn't mean I'm like fast, like a sprinter's butt. Like I'm faster than the average girl, and my butt's not going to get that much bigger. And like I kind of was like, why am I spending all this extra time and energy instead of just be like, this is me. I'm never going to have a Kim K butt. I worked on it so it's a little perky. It looks cute in a bikini, and no guy's going to be like, look at the dump trunk on that girl. They're not, but they're not. Do you know what I mean? And also like I'm glad we're hopefully getting to a place where like I always find it so funny, like the flat, like I embrace it, like pancake butt, but like there was always like memes about girls with pancake butts and that, and I was like, that's a girl. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's still like, it's a funny, but why? Like I think that's super offensive as well, and like I feel bad to whoever that girl is. And I just had another thought with it.
100%.
My God, what else I tried that thought with BBL muscle. And also something I talked to my chiropractor. He like, I go to this place called Myo Detox. It's chiropractors, physio, massage therapists, and I was talking to them there. And I had this thought. I was like, we've spent so much time the last like 6 years weight training to grow the bigger butt. And anytime you try and focus too much on one muscle group, other muscle groups suffer. And so I was like, I'm curious, do you see girls now with like really bad muscle imbalances? He's like, oh, all the time. And I was like, he's like, yeah, because all they do is train butts. And so they come in with this crazy anterior pelvic tilt or posterior pelvic tilt or whatever it is. And like they literally walk with like, you know what I mean? Like that walk. And not like they're not sticking their butt out, but all you've done is train in one movement pattern and you've neglected the others. And he's like, yeah, they got these lower back problems and all that. So I was like, I hope that's also like, 100%. Glutes are like once to twice a week, but it shouldn't be your entire focus around it. You're going to start injuring yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Like I used to think you had to train glutes like 3 days a week or even 4 days. And then I realized that was not the case as I started researching it. And now I train twice a week. And I have my own fitness program where I only train like legs twice a week for them.
Yeah.
And then the rest is like upper body. And a lot of them are like, whoa. Like, no. Like, I need to still get my squats in. I still need to like do an added day on, which depending on your body, yeah, it might work for you to have a split of 3 days a week. We're not saying you can't do that. But I wanted to like highlight the importance of still doing upper body day, and saying like, hey, if you work your back, you can actually have that illusion that your waist will be slimmer. Or if you work your shoulders, you're gonna look really sleek, like your collarbone's gonna look really sexy, like, you know, being like, hey, don't neglect these. And yeah, of course there's like physique goals with them, like they physically look nice, but sometimes you have to say like, hey, don't neglect it. You're not gonna get super buff. You're not gonna turn into that nightmare that you're like, I can't do upper body day. I'm like, no, we have to focus on our upper body day just as much, if not more. Like glutes, you can only train so much, and if you overdo it, it's just gonna backfire.
Unpopular opinion, the less you lift a week, the better. Hear me out, you still gotta lift a point, but there's been like a trend because weight training's so in, it's like lift as much as possible, get strong as much. And this is not talking about like power lifters, strength athletes, that's completely different. I'm talking about the general gym goer who wants to look good in a bikini and feel empowered. The less you can lift, the better, because you have a point of like diminishing returns. You can only gain so much muscle each week. So say that involved you lifting 100 pounds a week. That's not, but just easy number. At 100 pounds, you gain 1 pound of muscle for lifting. Why would you lift 200 if you're still going to gain 1 pound? Because the more you lift, the more chance you risk of injuring yourself, and you can only progressively overload so much every week. So it's kind of like, and this is like for just you want to grow muscles. Like I said, strength training is completely different, but it's kind of like do the least you have to, and then you have room for other kinds of fitness and moving in different ways. You less the chance of injuring yourself, because much as you need resistance training to reduce the chance of injury and posture imbalances, too much weight can injure you. Look at how many powerlifters and that are injured. And and a lot of us, we have to humble ourselves. A lot of us in the 100%. Gym don't lift properly, myself included. Like my form isn't always perfect. Like you have to be so skilled to lift really heavy. And so I was like, and I hope, and if you are trained, but I think that's not talked about enough, like how many people are potentially injuring themselves because weight training is so in and live stronger and better. And it's such a skill to get better at weight training. And so like I think a lot of injuries are starting to happen. And I also think that's why people are craving things like Pilates, because this happened to me, at least. I'm just speaking my own. I got so into weight training. I was so into it. It was like had to be there 5 to 6 times a week, and like rest days and super calculated and lift and stronger and stronger and stronger. And I didn't, because all I cared about that is I didn't do my mobility things and I didn't do my stretching. And I started to be this like weird, like tight broken after a couple years. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but like I was like, I don't enjoy it. Like I feel like I'm always injured. My hips are always tight. My form's not great. Like I probably quote unquote looked like the most jacked I've ever been. But then when I started doing the Pilates, it was like, oh my God, like I feel so good. And to this day, like now if I haven't stretched for a couple days, I'm like, oh, I don't feel nice. And like you literally walk around feeling so much better. And like also like it's like such a good mental outlet, and you're not pumping your body through of cortisol and overstressing, because it's a weird line and I don't have the answer, but you need stress to adapt. And that's what fitness is. It's like stressing your body adapts. But your body can only adapt so much. And if you're constantly pushing past it, pushing that, it thinks it's in this constant fight or flight, and you're stressed and you'll retain water and your digestion will be bad and you'll be swollen and inflamed. And so I think a lot of girls are finding this in Pilates because like they're taking a day or two and they're stretching and they're giving themselves to like connect with their body, and their inflammation's going down a little bit and they feel better and more open. So it's not like I'm saying weight training's bad, but I just think it was like fitness became just weight training, and it kind of got exhausting. I was like, that's just like 20% of fitness. 20 to 25% of fitness is weight training.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, even for when I had like my moment of I would only train like lifting heavy weights, or I was like, you know, similar story with you where I had to like get my workout in, otherwise I was gonna like fail at everything, and I wasn't stretching properly. I wasn't even incorporating cardio at all. Like I was like, no, like, you know, everyone's saying you have to lift weights. And so that's truly what I did. And then it started backfiring on me, kind of like you said. I was like exhausted constantly, incredibly bloated all the time. And I started being like, wait, I don't even enjoy this anymore. I was like dreading having to go to the gym. So I just finally was like, you know what? I'm over it. Like I want to keep this in my life, but I need a break. So for a while, I took a really long break, and that's when I started getting into running. This was like around COVID. I was like, I've never done this. I used to hate running, and I would say I'm not a runner. Well, why can't I be? So that's like kind of why I focused on it solely during that time. And then I started slowly incorporating lifting again, but I never went back to lifting as heavy as I used to. In my body, like, now it's been a year or so, and it's finally getting back into like the groove of, like, yesterday I planned to go do upper body and hit at the gym, but like I didn't want to, and my dog Bentley was looking at me like, don't leave me, like, take me with you. So I was like, you know what, let's go for a run. And so I just ran, and like at the end of the day, life is too short to just like have to do one form of training or be so strict with your schedule. Like, if you feel tired and your body is like, I don't want to lift anything, go for a walk, go for a run. Like, try Pilates, try yoga. Like, even I tried kickboxing? Boxing in general. Like, Devin, he's a Gymshark athlete, came to Miami when I was living there, and I had never met him, and he was like, hey, my team and I are boxing, come. And I was like, sure. And so I came, and it was so much fun. And his girlfriend equally didn't know how to box. So like, we were both like, in the beginner stage, and it was so much fun. And I was like, wow, I should do this more often. But like, I probably wouldn't have done that because I would have been like too nervous because I didn't know who, I'd never met this person / I'd never even tried this exercise. I didn't want to embarrass myself. And you know what? I did it. And I think that's, at the end of the day, really what exercise should be, is like trying new movements and trying new things and not staying in the same rut, because you're just not going to see change that way, mentally or physically.
Fully. And like, I think a problem the fitness industry has is like, it's so elitist, and like, it's so many people with their egos trying to be like, I have the most scientific based thing, and I come from someone who took science in this school, so obviously like, I'm not anti-science. Like, I very much agree with it, but like, what they care about is relevant to like the 0.0001% of the world. Like, it's all them trying to one up each other who's done more research, and so they're trying to be like, I'm smart, and so all the consumers just hearing like, oh, I have to do it this way and this way. I was like, no, you just got to move every day. You do need some resistance training, you need mobility, have fun with it, stay active every day. It's not that serious. Now, obviously, you never want to do anything that hurts you, but like, just realize when like you're hearing all these people in the fitness industry like fight back, it's like a giant ego battle. I was like, okay guys, I get it up there, but like, talk to the people that need you. Stop showing off to each other. Like, because like, I found like when I really like fitness clicked outside of like weight training and sports was when, like, same as you, like, I started doing fitness classes, and it like opened up my mind. So I started doing Pilates and yoga. I did boxing, went to spin classes. I tried different gyms. Obviously, I'm in like the running series. I got back to swimming and playing tennis, played paddle in Europe, and just like, it became such like a social thing, which is so fun. And like, I found I get questions, you and me both move, and the easiest way to like make friends nowadays is like join a like fitness studio. Like, that's what I did in Toronto. That's what I do here. Like, that's the only people that like know me by name, because I just 100%. Sit at home and do my work, and then I go to like Barry's is my go-to. Everyone knows like I'm a classic Barry's girl right now, just basic, but I was like, I love it there. They know me, I smile, I meet friends, I talk to other girls in the change room. Like, it's like we all listen to music and like work out together, so it gives that like team community aspect, which I think is so fun. And realizing like fitness isn't just about getting like jacked.
100, yeah, I keep saying 100%. Wow, I think I've said this like, if anyone is listening, they're probably like, wow, that is sap, just 100%. And then there's Keltie saying, it's not this serious. I feel like you always say that too.
Oh yeah, it's not that deep. I was like, I think everyone on the internet takes everything so serious, and maybe it's just, I was like, trust me, there's serious things, but like, sometimes like people ask,
calm the F down.
They're like, oh, people. Why you're wearing this legging because of all this? And I was like, it's just a pair of pants. I didn't think about it when I put it on. I was like, they were only clean ones. It's not a metaphor.
Yeah, and I almost said 100%. Oh my gosh. But I feel like a lot of the times as well, we don't focus. I'm very big on how you feel, spirituality, like, to me, that's the most important thing. Without that, you have nothing. So, like, you can spit science at me all day, but, like, if I'm not feeling right about something, or if my body is telling me something different, like, I'm going to listen to that, right? So sometimes I think that we don't focus enough on that when we explain certain terms or when we have those science-based channels. I think that's phenomenal. I think we need science to back everything up. I definitely agree with that. But at the same time, we're so complex that like we have to listen to our bodies, you know, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I think sometimes we lack that, or I don't even know where I'm trying to go with this, but that is like a key indicator for me, especially when I listen to even channels like that, like that new podcast I've been listening to that you recommended. I think it's fantastic, but I almost wish he involved more of like, how are they feeling in those studies, or how are they reacting, opposed to just like the cold hard facts, you know, like, and maybe that's just like how my brain works. I'm more empathetic in that sense than like the logic, but that's for me at least, like how I base almost everything is like, how am I actually feeling?
I know, and I fully agree with that, because I kind of had this little mantra to myself, and like I've said a few times on my YouTube, but like what fitness, after like I said, it's a trend right now that went from weight training to Pilates to some people are Pilates. I hate to say it, it's not a trend, it's a life cycle of fitness, and most people go through it in their early 20s. And so like I was like, I don't want to predict the future, but I'm just saying me and Sav have seen, like, I can almost predict what will happen after the Pilates, and what I'm going to say is like the realization I think most people, and I'm only saying this because my mother went through the same thing. It's just more of like, you've lived long enough, like I know your mom was like bodybuilder and all that, like they went through the same thing. My mom was my mom did, this is actually so funny, I don't think I've said this. What? She did world aerobics. My mom was the world aerobics champion. So like, have you ever seen that commercial of like the people doing the aerobic dances and like to the crazy music?
Yeah, my mom was an aerobic teacher. No way, she won it?
Her and her my like godfather, they were like partners. It was like they were the, I don't know, like you could either be a single person, like just a guy or just a girl, or you could be like a partner, like a guy and a girl, and they like won it back in like 1980 something.
I love that. Like, was it like I got choreo, like were they dancing at the same time?
Yeah, they were like dancing, doing like one arm push up. Like, have you seen that meme of all the people in the leotards coming down dancing to Jay-Z? Have you seen that meme?
No, you'll have to.
I'll send it. I was like, that's what my mother did. But anyways, so like I
love that.
And like the funniest thing is, me being a bratty little 20-year-old, I used to be like to my mom, I was like, no, it's just weight training, muscle and science. She's like, oh yeah, I know. And I was like, no, you don't know. Like, this is what's in. She's like, oh, I know. And I was like, what the hell? Like, no, I know more than you. And now I'm like, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. She's like, I know. I went through the same stage as you did. I was like, thank you. What's happening next? And now anything my mom says, I'm like, she knows more than me. But back to my...
Well, I feel like when you and I even sometimes will talk about, you know, maybe someone makes a comment about like us not lifting heavy, or I don't know, I've gotten comments of people being like, why do you run? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you're going to lose your muscle, whatever, right? You and I are always like, oh, they're so young. They are not, they're in a different stage.
And we're going to do a podcast about cardio that's planned on the schedule. So that will be, we'll touch base on that a little bit. But what I will kind of go with, like, wrap that up part is just like the 5 pillars I keep saying of what fitness is, at least for me. 1 is strength training. So that can be strength, resistance, power, explosiveness. So it's just your body resisting something and exploding. And that's help with sports performance, speed, injury prevention, so you don't have brittle bones, so you prevent yourself from falling. It keeps your metabolism because your muscle's healthy. Yes, that's one of them. But then the second is heart health, so cardio. You do need to do cardio. I think like the science is like you have to do like 180 minutes of like zone 2 cardio a week is like optimal. Back to resistance training. I think the optimal, they said, for just like health is saying like 6 sets of each muscle group a week. And like those right there, like you just need for just to live long and be healthy. And then the third, I think, is like a mental outlet. It should be something like we have a lot of, I have it too. Like you get that built up anxiety and you're just like, what is this? And you need like a physical outlet. And like, it's crazy how calm I am after I work out. And so I think it is mental, or it can be connecting with yourself, like Pilates. Like, how am I doing? Becoming more intuitive. And every day it's going to be different, but you kind of need that every day to like either let out energy or connect with yourself physically. And then the fourth is mobility and flexibility. So you need to increase your range of motion. There's different formats of it, but that's the fourth one. You need all that. You can't properly weight train if you're not mobile. You can't properly run if you're not mobile. Like, that's just like the foundation. All the other things, if you're not mobile and flexible enough, everything else will fall and you'll prevent injuries. And the fifth, most important to me, and it's not talked about, and this is, I was like, oh, you guys are so you've just on stage 1. You're just on stage 1, is play and skill. And I think that's like untalked about, like it's community, play, skill. Like you have to have a place of like you go, you meet people, you find your little tribe. You get better at something. Like I'll use basketball as a good idea. It's just like you shoot a basketball, you get better at tennis. You get more skillful of it. You just play, like competition, play, have fun, laugh, be like childlike, be around community. And like I think those are the 5 pillars of fitness, and not one is more important than the other. But like that's why I was like, Pilates I think is like, or yoga, bar, any of those kind of like, they fall into a bit more mobility, mental health, connecting with yourself. That's like the first opening of Pandora's box of like what actually fitness is. And it's not like a taking away. It's not saying one is bad than the other. It's not like if you're hearing this and you're just starting your fitness journey and you're like, oh, this is so overwhelming, I can't do 5 different things. I was like, no, you're not supposed to do all 5. You're just supposed to kind of like figure one out, master it. And then you'll figure out like, oh, why can I never, like my hips are always tight. I can never fully grow my glutes. And then I'm like, let's see how your hip mobility is. You start stretching your hips and you're like, whoa, I have more range of motion. I can grow my glutes more. And it's just like it's a stepping stone.
I don't know if this is relevant, but it popped into my head. I took surfing lessons a year ago in Huntington and got to know the guys really well that were teaching me. And they were all very like lean men that like, I mean, they were crazy ripped still, but they're really lean and like, you know, not the typical like just shredded with like huge arms and muscles, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking to them about how they trained. I was like, how do you exercise? And they're like, we go to the gym, but we do, you know, lighter weight, more reps, because in order to balance when you surf, you need to be, you know, more mobile. You need to be leaner in a sense. And I thought that was so interesting because like you're saying, like you just really have to find what you like.
Yes.
And for them, that was a sport of surfing is like their hobby. So they're not going to, you know, like try and increase their muscle mass to where maybe a bodybuilder would, because it wouldn't make sense. Like they would lose all of their balance, everything like that. So I just think it's interesting depending on, like you said, what you do like to enjoy, what kind of community things you like to do, like pivot and train for that.
And I think that's like a fun thing. Like right now, if it seems overwhelming, I think you just have to stay like super curious and be like, oh, try a Pilates class. Like if I was like, I challenge you if you're listening, like go try it. And you might come out and be like, Keltie, that sucked. I hated it. I was like, you know what? That's fine. You got to figure out like what, be curious and try a bit and just kind of keep staying active along the way. And like you said, one day you'll find your sport. And I think that involves in display. And I think we had that growing up. We don't have as much in our 20s, 30s onwards and that, because we tend to lose organized sport. But you kind of need that because I think it really helps also with like your own, like, what would be the term? Just relationship to your body. Because then you start to be like those guys you said, like as much as like I'm sure they like to look good and confidence, it's a weird thing that like if you're good at a sport you enjoy doing, saying you feel good about your body. And you take away the aesthetic goals and just caring about what you look like. And then you start training to like optimize that. And you'll go through ebbs and flows. Like I'm doing the running series right now. I know you're into running. So like I do think of a lot of things. I'm like, oh, will this help my speed? Will it help me jump higher? Well, like I think that for like the sport aspect. But like that can change as well. But like if you do feel like you're way too hard on your body and be like you're constantly nitpicking, like my glutes aren't big enough, my arms aren't long enough, my thighs are too big, my thighs are too small or whatever. I was like, if you find a sport, you suddenly like stop thinking like, oh, they're just big or small. They're like, oh, they're powerful or they're flexible or I can dance or at the end of the day you can just like rave till 3 a.m. at Coachella with your body giving out. I was like, and if that's a victory in itself.
And I think also normalize if you want to change your hobby or your sport. And I think we often like identify and put ourselves in these boxes. Even like you and I, we were in these boxes when we first started out, and you're going to get some backlash. That's expected, right? Like from not only people, but you, when you change up your body, you change up how you train, but like you grow so much. And like, I'm a strong believer that like you're the only one that's putting yourself in this box. You can be anything you want. You can be a runner if you want. You can kickbox if you want. You can be a yogi. It's like you can truly be anything you want. You're not defined by a hobby just because like you liked it for a couple of years. And I think at the end of the day, you and I aren't trying to say like these ladies that are listening, and if they are into weightlifting, I think we think that's fantastic. I love weightlifting, don't get me wrong.
We still both weightlift.
Yeah, but I think it's just a fun perspective for you and I to at least talk on because we relate so much. That was like a big thing we bonded on, was we changed our training, and we still change our training a lot, and we just kind of like broke out of our own boxes and want to share that.
For sure. Because even like myself, like I remember when I was heavy in my weight training days, I used to laugh at people that spend time stretching. I wouldn't actually, but it was just more, I was like, not even that it was other people. It was like, I'm so into weightlifting. That's all I do. I can't do cardio. No, because all I do is weightlift. And I would like pride myself in how crappy my cardio and flexibility wasn't. Like pride myself in it because all I did was weight training. So it was like to show that's how much I'm in weight training, that like I didn't even care about those things. And now I'm like, hindsight. But then when I started getting burnt out because all I did was weight training and I started doing all those other things, it was like I got better at weight training and found more purpose. And like you said, just exactly, not those boxes. And you discover what you actually like. Because for me, it was a mask. It was post sports, I lost identity. I needed another identity. I latched onto weight training. I was like, I'm really hot. That's what I do. And I'm in bodybuilding, weight training. That's my identity. And I was like, is it though? Have you really done the work? And I didn't. And I hadn't done the work. I just latched onto the first cool thing I saw that was becoming popular on social media. And like I said, I still weight train. It's still really important, especially optimized for sports performance. It helps you become strong and powerful and confident. But that's not your entire identity. You'll burn out if that's like literally your whole entire personality is just weight training. I'm not saying it's wrong. If you become a powerlifter, it's great. But in anything, like yoga, podcasts I have YouTube and I have music. If I was just one of those, sometimes you get burnt out. You're like, people naturally are like multifaceted.
Yeah. Well, even think about like how we were talking about our parents. Both my mom and dad were bodybuilders. And my dad, once he was done competing, he became a runner. And he did distance running and he would do marathons. And if you guys are from Washington, Spokane, he'd do Bloomsday every year. Like that's like I think it's a marathon in Spokane. I don't know. He'd always drag us there and he'd go for a run. But like he was a strong, like one Mr. Spokane, and even he got burnt out of like powerlifting, and he became a runner, and then now he's doing golf, and now he's getting back into running, and I showed him what HIIT was, what high intensity interval training was. Now that's what he's doing. It's like, no matter the age, no matter who you were in your past, I think it's really cool if you can collect those hats, right? Like everyone has that friend. Like one of my close friends, her name's Denise, and I swear every time I talk to her, she's like has this like new random hobby I had no idea she used to do. Like she's like a pilot. She's like, yeah, I got my pilot's license.
That's so
like,
badass.
When did
Oh
you
my
do
God.
that? Right? Like she always has the most random stories to tell me. And I'm like, you are so cool. Because a lot of times we like don't get out of our comfort zone. We don't try new things because we're scared we're going to be bad at it. But newsflash, we all suck in the beginning. We're all horrible at everything. So, like I even think LeBron James probably like was horrible like in the beginning. Nobody's out of the womb fantastic.
Exactly. And like if you're embarrassed to try something new, like because I've tried so many new challenges on my YouTube, and it always comforts me. I just kind of let people know, and I feel people are so forgiving. Like if you're a server, the first time like working in a bar, if you're like, oh, I don't know what to say, you just go up to the table and be like, guys, it's my first day, I got no idea what I'm doing. And then the people will be so understanding, and they'll be like, come on, you got it, you screwed up our order but you tried. Like, do you know what I mean? And like totally. Same with like fitness classes. Like I've gone into the instructor and just go up front, I'm like, I can't touch my toes, but I'm going to do yoga. And they're like, it's fine. They come to the front. And like, you kind of whisper to the person beside you. I was like, I've never done this before. Could you give any tips? And then they're not looking over being like, what's this girl doing? They're like, gym people are usually so understanding when they're like, oh no, it's this person's first time. Like, I find that if you just need like a little advice, is just kind of like either go in the back corner, but we all are so self-absorbed with ourselves. We don't notice. And you need to break free of that bubble, because we'll do a drinking analogy. Is like, if all you've ever ordered is vodka soda, all you know is vodka soda. But like fitness can be you don't know what you're missing until you try. So you know what, next time order vodka soda with lime, and the next time make it tequila soda, and then tequila sunrise, and then have a beer, and then have a lychee martini, and have a dirty martini. You know what I mean? Like your identity is, you don't always have to be the person that like orders a vodka soda every single time and like attach that to your identity. Like, and we've been there. We all know that person that like all I've ordered is a vodka soda. That's just all you do. I was like, well, live a little. You don't know. Try something else. and try it, and you might find a new favorite thing, and you might find you hate everything on the menu and just go back to what you originally like. That can happen too. But it's like, just don't think it's like that serious. Like I said, try new things. It can be really fun. And like, make it a thing with your friends this summer. You're like, you don't want to go to the bar every night or always be hungover. Just go try a new fitness class.
Even I went to dinner with one of my friends the other night, and it's a restaurant I live near. We go there a lot. And I used to always get the same sushi roll, right? Because I was like, I know I like it. And when I was with her, she's like vegetarian. So I was like, you know what? When we were splitting stuff, I was like, I'll try what you get on the menu. And every single thing, we got like 5 different things. Even we got dessert. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try anything you recommend. And like, it's so fun. And yeah, there was some stuff I was like, I don't actually like this. Like, there was some really weird seaweed salad that felt like spiders in my mouth, right? Yeah. But at least I tried it, and like, I just think there's going to be a fault if you aren't willing to try something new. You know, like, you're just being stubborn. Don't be stubborn. Don't be stubborn. Don't be stubborn, Karen. And move on and try your damn Pilates class.
Just do it. It's like so fun. And once you try something new you're probably like, Keltie, sounds so easy for you. I was like, it wasn't at the start. But guess what? I just kept doing it. And now I'm like so immune to trying something new and being the idiot. Like, or just like trying a new menu. Like, give it a go. Every time I challenge you this weekend, if you go to a restaurant, order something you've never ordered. If you try a new fitness class, just try it. And worst comes to worst, you got a great story. Put it on TikTok. It goes viral. You got some fame. Like, that's literally the worst possible thing now that I think about it. It's like that's you either have a great story. Like, I even told the sushi story about you and Michael to like Megs yesterday, and it was probably the worst thing that happened. But I told Meg, I cried laughing, and he cried laughing. I love that. And like, it was the worst thing possible at the time, but then it became a great story. Totally. So the worse it is, usually the better story. Yeah. Thank you. That was the best story I've ever heard.
My misery became your pleasure. Yeah. Or even like, I know we're going on. We'll wrap this up soon. But like, even I'm a big person of, I like to live everywhere, right? Like, if you guys follow me, you know I have moved so many times. It's almost painful this year, right? But like, I constantly get these people asking, I want to move, I want to get out of my hometown, or I want to try something new, but like, what if I don't like it? Yeah. And like, literally, like, then you don't like it. And you can always come back. Even the restaurant, you can always order that. Worst case, you tell them you don't like it, and they'll probably give you the other thing for free, right? Like, hospitality. But still, like, if you don't like a place, then just leave again. And you have a new outlook, a new perspective. Like, I even think, I've lived in Seattle, California, Spain, like Miami, and now I'm in Puerto Rico, and like, I didn't love Miami, honestly. Like, it wasn't my vibe. I like nature, and there wasn't a lot for me to do there with nature because it was a city, right? Like, and I learned. And I was like, oh, actually, next place we moved to, I think I'd rather live somewhere like in a suburb that I can have like more nature walks, right? Like, I just think it's so important to you get to learn more about yourself. I meet so many people that are like too scared to do it. And I'm like, it's just you in that box. Like, worst case, you have stories to tell, you learn something new about yourself, and you can go back if you want.
Fully. And just like one other perspective with that is like, I come from a small town. Oh, not small, like it's not, but it's like very small. It's like farm town, Edmonton. Like, no one's heard of it. And I remember being so scared to try new things because I would hear of friends who tried something new, and it'd always be like, oh, this girl, last week her hobby was this, and now she's doing this. She's so flimsy and all over the place. And it was like, okay, she's 21. She's trying to figure it out. And I remember being myself, though. I would defend the said person, but then I would never do the things I wanted to do, truly. And I wasted so many years because I was like, no, this is who I am, and this is what I do. And then I moved one time, and that was kind of like the opening of Pandora's box. I was like, what do I actually want to do? And then I moved a bunch and tried a bunch of things. And it's taken a good 5 years till now I'm in this place of like doing stuff I like genuinely enjoy. And will I enjoy in 20 years? I don't know. But like, if you have people in your life like that, like, just ignore them, because it's not a bad thing to try new things. It doesn't mean you're flimsy and not committed to something else, especially if you haven't tried that much stuff and you've lived just in a kind of smaller mindset. Like, there's so much more just waiting for you, and you're supposed to. Totally. Especially if you're in your 20s. And 30s isn't old. 30s too. 40s even. 80. If we have an 80-year-old listen, go try something new safely.
Yeah. And I think that mentality that small towns are usually associated with, like, or say you're struggling with this and people are making these comments at you if you want to leave and they're like, why would you do that? Like, oh my gosh, go to the unknown? No, you're going to miss happy hour every Friday, right? Take the biggest advice I've ever gotten with like this is don't take advice from someone you don't want their life. So if you like the small town mentality, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Then that's fine. But if you don't, and you've been curious, don't take their advice. You don't want to end up like them. Even I take this for anything in life, business, relationships. Like, I will not seek advice from people I do not want their life or whatever subject. I just think that's so important to know. Yeah. I come from a small town mentality. Like, I was the first one in my entire family to like leave Washington and like not do the cookie cutter thing, right? And I can't be more thankful I did that. And it has inspired a lot of people in my family to like get out and finally leave as well. And like, you just got to do it. You got to pull the trigger, you know?
For sure. The number one comment I got when I left Edmonton was, don't change. And I used to be like, don't worry, I'll be like the same. And yeah, I'm not going to go and be like an LA idiot. Like, I hope that never happens. And not LA, you know what I mean? Like, get my ego or anything like that. I thought that's what they meant. But I think they also just was like, wanted to kind of put you in this little box is really what they meant. Because that they knew the box I was supposed to be in their world. And their world is great. It's beautiful. And Edmonton will always be home. But I was like, no, I'm leaving to change and grow and become a better person and finding what I want. And so, like, you're supposed to change. That's not a bad thing.
Yes. Change is, if you're not changing, there's something extremely wrong with you.
Boring.
Like, you need to grow. And we're not saying you have to move to change, right? It's changing your habits. It's improving something that you're like, oh, I actually don't like this about me, you know? Like, I think that's so important. And, yeah, we've all gotten that, like, you've changed. Like, I know once I moved to Orange County, right? Like, I started getting Botox, I got fake boobs, and they were literally like, I've had so many people have made comments because it's not very common, right, in Seattle, and the people I used to hang out with, but it's like, I actually always wanted that. I've always wanted fake boobs. It wasn't because I went to Orange County. Yeah, it was more normalized to there. I wasn't judged for wanting it. Thank God. I moved somewhere that, like, I felt like I could flourish and grow, and that's even how I created my channel. I would never have created that channel if I stayed in my hometown because that was weird. That was so strange to be an influencer. You were vapid if you're posting about your body or a slut or something, right? Like, it's just, you got to change. And if someone makes that comment while you've changed, say thank you.
I love it.
Like, that's the biggest compliment ever.
Okay, we're going to wrap it perfectly on that.
Yeah, we're going to wrap this up.
I love it. I want, though, we have one challenge for you guys. Send us a picture of something new you tried this weekend, whether it be just a new sushi roll, a drink, a fitness class. Send us some, either DM us and we'll read it off next podcast, or just tag us in a picture or on our story, and just like, even doesn't have to be any reference. You just take like a picture of your pretty new martini and just tag us and we'll know. Yes. A little inside joke with us. Well, not joke. You got this. I believe in you.
Because you know what? It's not that serious.
It's not that
100%.
Deep. Just order a new martini, baby.
Imagine like you and I are at like a bar and I'm like, oh man, like I don't know. I know I like lychee martinis, but should I try this? And you just go, it's not that deep. Order.
That's from now on. I'm like, it's not that deep. She'll take the lychee lavender one. I was like, perfect.
That's your new tagline. There you go.
Yeah, it's not that deep. I love it. Okay.
All right. Well, we will see you in the next podcast episode. Don't forget to check out our Instagram, Hitting the Bars, for a very fun, I don't know, we kind of meme it up. We just randomly post and hang out with you guys on there. And, you know, always drop a review, write a funny one. Maybe we'll read it. And, we're always open to suggestions. Feel free to DM us at any time.
Perfect. Or just drop us a review and comment on the review the new thing you tried. And anyone reading our reviews will be like, what's lychee martini? What is that?
Yeah,
but we'll know. We'll know what it means. So put it there.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Well.
All right. Bye.